award, Yeah, I just retweeted it.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, come on, welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you here on this Tuesday from hole number 6 here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Hope your day's starting off well. Jim Coyle with you as always. Kevin Brockway sitting in as he does on Tuesdays. Kevin, how are you, sir?
Good. Newsy morning. Bucket game canceled again. And
all kinds of stuff going on. We'll have Mike DeCourcy on and Chronic Hoosier later on. But yeah, Kevin, you're right. We start off with the recancellation of the bucket game, but not a big surprise here. Then I said yesterday, I didn't see that game being played, and it's not that there's nothing for Indiana ready to play this year. I know it's the bucket game, but to me it feels like it's better to take this game off this year, prepare for your bowl game.
Yeah, no question, and I think that when you look at it in the analysis, I mean, that not healthy, and both teams aren't healthy. So, why play a game where you have limited preparation time? Both your teams are, probably have multiple positive cases plus the contact tracing. You're not going to be able to get a good practice in, rest up for the bowl game. Kids will be able to take final exams, not have to worry about stuff also. I think there are a lot of factors that are in play here, and it makes a lot of sense. Whether it's going to hurt Indiana in terms of the contact, rather the CFP is concerned, remains to be seen, the resume. But I think at this point, you're 6-1, you stand where you are. You just really have to pull for Wisconsin and Penn State to win their games this week to make those wins look a little better. And then, hopefully with Florida and Miami both losing over the weekend, you move up a little bit in the CFP standings this week from your number 12 spot.
Yeah, you think. You mentioned, will it affect Indiana's college football ranking position? And I don't think it matters what Indiana. I think the college football committee has shown it doesn't matter what they do on the field. It doesn't matter. They're going to do what they're going to do, what they want to do. Now, what they wanted to do was not have Indiana in a New Year's 6-day bowl game. They had been kind of mentioned in the Fiesta Bowl a lot, and then all of a sudden they weren't. Now they are again. As they slide higher into the AP top 10. They're number 7 right now. It's going to be more and more difficult for that committee to keep Indiana looking so much further apart in their viewpoint than everybody else's, because that agenda starts to show through a little bit when you do that.
Well, my point is this. Ohio State doesn't seem to be penalized at all in terms of the CFP standings for having games wiped out. We'll see if the precedent holds true for Indiana. I mean, the fact is Ohio State's only played 5 games. They'll be going on 6 games. Indiana will have played 7 by the time the final decisions are made. So I think it's more quality than it should be more quality than quantity. I heard Greg Sankey mentioning, games played or a metric and stuff. I mean, why should we reward schools, or why should we disincentivize schools, or why should we punish schools for erring on the side of caution? That's my point in this environment.
Why it's not about that. It's nothing but about the money. I mean, and until they start acknowledging that, it's ridiculous, because this conversation is not even necessary. But they want to sit there and lie to you. It's nothing but about the money. The Big Ten did what they thought was their best shot of getting a team into the college football playoffs and that $6 million payday that comes along with it. And that's what they've done. Now, what happens if Northwestern was to upset Ohio State? Well, that would really screw the apple cart up good. But I don't see that happening. But it would be just desserts for the Big Ten. And then now, speaking of that, how about Jim Phillips being plucked from the Big Ten to be the commissioner of the ACC? I assure you, the ACC will probably now surpass the Big Ten The Big Ten is going to have to do something with their leadership, Kevin. It's a problem. It is an optics problem. It's a real problem. It's caused problems for the league. There's no. You think half these schools are really in love with the commissioner's office now? There's not good relationships. There's nothing good going on between the Big Ten commissioner's office and the rest of the Big Ten, in my opinion.
Well, I think that, you're certainly in a tough environment. I mean, with COVID all across the college landscape, and there are a lot of difficult decisions that have to be made. But I think the lack of transparency is what's really hurting the league right now. The fact that, these decisions have been made and you do not see.
One guy. It's Kevin Warren. He's the guy.
Well, I mean, it's him and it's the leadership around him, I think, without a doubt. The fact that we're not getting much clarity or communication on these decisions at all, except for a handpicked few. I think that's a big issue with the league, and it apparently even predates Kevin Warren in terms of the Big Ten just kind of making their decisions. People like Kane Womack said in his press conference yesterday. People want to know the why in the decision making. Younger people, they want to know the why, and right now we're not getting the why with a lot of these decisions. It's like pretty much like because I said so is the answer from the Big Ten all the time. And instead of, explaining to break it down.
And that tells you they don't have an answer. And unfortunately, that's been the look is that they don't really have an answer, because every time they do something, there's never a real explanation. They give you a BS explanation, but there's never a real explanation that makes any sense. And then most of their decisions have backfired in the last couple of months under his leadership.
Well, they don't make the leaders necessarily available to answer the questions as to the why. I think that's the big issue. They just kind of send out statements. So that's where they are, and that's why maybe there's a little bit of a public distrust there. And it's been a rough first year. I mean, COVID is something that is an unprecedented situation. Kevin Warren, I mean, to be fair, walked into a situation that was terrible.
You know what? Everybody's calling for that. I'm so tired of hearing that for him. Everybody's walked into that situation. Nobody has dealt with it before, but he keeps getting a pass. I'm not giving him a pass. He got a pass for the first 3 months when he screwed it up, but he got an opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to fix it, and he never does. He continues to do the same thing. We have yet to hear from him, yet to see him. When's the last time you saw or heard from the commissioner of the Big Ten, and how many major things have happened along the way? And nothing. Not a peep.
Yeah, that's like I said, that's been the big problem, since February. But let's look at it this way: the Big Ten, in my opinion, tried to do the right thing in August. I mean, myocarditis. Okay,
why is that the right thing?
Because Jim, a Florida basketball player, just collapsed on the court with a heart issue. Okay, I think that was the right thing. I don't know. We don't know. We don't entirely know the specifics. We don't know entirely the specifics of that yet, but that is a dangerous sign. Okay, I mean, these kids, with potential heart problems, I think they tried to do the right thing. Okay, and what happened was, there was some parental pressure. They came back. They tried to play, but the timing was terrible because they came back in the middle of a raging pandemic, and
everybody played. Everybody but them. And the thing with the heart, how many times before you ever heard of COVID? How many times before you ever heard of COVID did you hear of a basketball player collapsing on the court? I have heard that numerous times throughout my life, way before I ever heard of COVID. That happens probably once a year at least. That is not something that just doesn't happen. So I don't think you can just lump it in automatically when it's happened for my entire lifetime.
It's a general, listen, it happens. I mean, you have enlarged heart issues, you have a bunch of issues, but this kid apparently tested positive for COVID over the summer. It is a scary situation. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, sure. I agree with that, but I mean, we can't just lump it in there. And I'm not giving Kevin Warren a pass. I'm just not. He is, and it's not because the COVID's just not an excuse for being inept. COVID is not an excuse for being quiet. It's not an excuse for being silent. It is just not an excuse for all of his mistakes. It's an excuse for none of his mistakes. And the thing is, it's not like you come up and say, hey, we've had some issues. Let's try to get that. No, they don't even care. They don't care. It's like, we're just going to do what we're going to do. And they have done what they're going to do so far. And I think that the thing is, they're trying to benefit certain people, certain entities. And if that's okay with the other entities, then, I guess you live with it.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting. I mean, getting back to the CFP, we'll see how it shakes out for Indiana right now, but we'll see if they get in the Fiesta or, possibility of the Citrus Bowl in Florida, which would not be a bad destination for a team that came into the year, picked, third or fourth in the Big Ten East to be in a position where, you're going to be playing in a major New Year's Bowl. I think that says a lot about Tom Allen and the job that he's done this season.
Absolutely. Your Hurricanes, man, they were looking good. They were trending up. They were in the top 10. They were going up, and they got blown out by North Carolina. Man, they drop him like 10 spots?
Yeah, no, it was that was bad, and it was a really pathetic tackling display. But I think Al Blades, when you look at that situation, he was one of their best defensive players. Again, out with myocarditis, was diagnosed with myocarditis last week. So, again, a COVID-related issue. But their defense is depleted. It showed on the field. The tackling was inept. I mean, they gave up close to 500 yards of rushing. It was a bad deal, out there. And, Manny Diaz did not have him ready to play. But, again, a loss that could benefit Indiana. I mean, we're going to see what happens tonight in the CFP standings. But logic would say Florida losing and Miami losing over the weekend should help Indiana move up. But what we will see if that's the case. Both to really bad teams. They're going to say, Indiana hasn't beaten, a team with a winning record. Well, they also haven't lost to teams with losing records, which is what Florida did over the weekend when they lost LSU. So, I would think not beating the teams you're supposed to beat are more important than losing a game that you're supposed to win.
And a lot of people, before the bucket game was canceled again, which I was laughing because people were complaining about. I did another show yesterday. Someone asked me to be on a radio show, and they were like, they couldn't believe that the Big Ten was going to have Indiana play Purdue and not Iowa. And I'm like, who cares? They're not going to play anyway. It doesn't matter. But anyway, I get it. That game would have been more beneficial to Indiana, but when you see them go on the road the week before and beat a top 16 Wisconsin team with their backup quarterback, and it did them no good, it makes you wonder how much good would it have done to beat Iowa, and maybe there was more to lose than to gain in that game.
Yeah, exactly. And with the COVID situation, obviously they didn't play. But what if they did try to play that game, but were undermanned in practice and preparation? You're putting yourself at a competitive disadvantage. Why would you do that? I think that's the other factor too. You would want to go at them at full strength. You wouldn't want to go at them with a depleted roster, which I think factored in the decision as well. Why, take that away? I mean, you're 6-1. You've put together. I think they still put together a really strong resume. And like I said, if you're an Indiana fan this weekend, root for Wisconsin, root for Penn State, because those two opponents, if they finish the season strong, that's going to help your overall resume.
Hey, it looks like we got to hit a break, so let's do that right now. We'll be back. Mike DeCourcy should be coming up next. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. We're coming to you from hole number 6 here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more right after this.
That's good. That was a good first segment.
33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-60
10 o'clock.
Parkway.
We're going to talk about the Big Ten Awards. From 10 o'clock on, we'll talk about the awards in the last half hour.
Incredible food selection, homemade fresh daily.
And it goes right along with that Tom Allen thing.
We're meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Well, I was going to mention that in the first thing, and then you cut me off.
Exactly.
I said Bucket Game and Tom Allen being AFCA Coach of the Year, and then you're like, I jumped right in.
You got me excited, boy. You got me excited.
I know. I'm here. You're just fired up today.
There's Mike DeCourcy. How are you, sir? 824-4040 for reservations or tee times. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington with Psalms Clubhouse. A winner every time.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
Does your bank offer the personal service of a community bank combined with big bank products that you expect? I'm Dane Chandler, Banking Center Manager with Banterra, and with our bank, you get the best of both worlds. Our easy-to-use mobile app includes conveniences like mobile check deposit. We offer competitive CD and money market rates, smart mortgage options, and unmatched business products and services. Switching to Banterra is easy. Stop by our locations to learn more. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The college and pro football seasons bring friends together, and Leroy's Tavern is a place to watch all the games every week with the NFL Sunday Ticket while enjoying $1 Busch Light drafts every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Leroy's Tavern also features a $6 daily lunch special from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, featuring a sandwich, fries, or onion rings, or a 7-inch pizza and a non-alcoholic drink for just $6. Be part of the karaoke fun every Friday and Saturday night. Leroy's Tavern, a West Side tradition for 50 years. At 2659 Mount Vernon Avenue.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat, here on this Tuesday, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle sitting with you, as well as Kevin Brockway. Now joined by the great Mike DeCourcy. Michael, how are you, sir? Not sure if he's muted there, but I can't hear Mike.
Michael, maybe try rejoining.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get Mike to rejoin us here. There we go. There we got him. Hey, you're back. You're alive. You're alive. How are you, sir?
Guys, are you still with me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How are you doing?
Outstanding.
Ground control to Major Tom.
Sorry about that.
Hey, what about that game last night? Did you get it? I'm sure you got a chance to watch that Monday night game. We haven't even talked about that yet. Yeah, Mike, can you hear us still? Well, I think Mike's having a little problem, and maybe he'll rejoin us here in a second. But we didn't talk about that game yet, Kevin. And, man, I usually end up missing games like that. And boy, luckily I was watching it, and it was going back and forth. And every time that Lamar would do something, Baker Mayfield would do – that was a heavyweight fight. That was a fun new age football. We see these games. You see the Kansas City. This is fun football, man.
And, you could see the growth and development in Lamar Jackson in that play. In terms of him, looked like he was going to scramble for the first down. He sees Marquise Brown downfield, just fires it, beats the two safeties, and gets a touchdown to go ahead in the last 2 minutes. That was really impressive.
Yeah, Mike's back with us now. Mike, how you doing, man?
I am doing well, Jim. How are you?
We are great. Sitting here with Kevin, we were just talking about that NFL game last night. We hadn't talked about that. It was so much fun to watch that thing go down to the end. I was hoping that they were going to miss that field goal. I'll be honest with you.
You wanted to see more.
I did.
Well, there's a problem with that because Justin Tucker's the greatest field goal kicker in the history of the game, so the odds were against you.
Yeah, because it was a terrible snap, and he looked like he was almost leaning back when he kicked it, and he could have hit that thing from another 5 yards.
He's ridiculous. How they found him, where they found him, it was an incredible get. The guy from Kansas City, Butker, is outstanding, but this guy has been doing it now for a decade. He is just ridiculous at what he does, and so you cannot leave yourself in a position against the Ravens where you are either in a tie game or within a field goal in the final minute or so, because he's either going to win the game or tie it up. they're going to make 2 first downs, and then he's going to kick it from 60 yards. It happens every time he's in that position. So if you saw the Steelers play the Ravens earlier in the year, they were a touchdown up. And so they didn't have that luxury, the Ravens. They did not have that luxury of being able to get it over the 50 and then let Tucker take over. They had to get it into the end zone, and they were unable to do that. So that's the position you have to put yourself in. And when the Browns gave the ball back to the Ravens with that much time, I knew that they were in trouble.
Absolutely. Bowl games, we saw this morning already. The bucket game, Indiana-Purdue, recanceled. But no surprise there. I didn't think that game was going to be played. Was talking to Kevin. There's just nothing to be gained for Indiana. Nothing to be gained for a lot of people as they head towards bowl season. The most important thing for these teams are getting to these bowls and these paydays for the conferences. And I think that that's what everyone's focus is kind of turning around to be right now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Hoosiers now. It's a shame that they weren't able to get that game in either last week or this. It would have been, a fun game and in a college football season that has been mostly about living in the moment. That would have been a great moment for college football. I think it does somewhat mitigate the whole the angst that was expressed last week after Ohio State was advanced to the championship game. That rule regarding the number of games that had to be completed was withdrawn, and Ohio State was allowed to move into the championship game. I thought a lot of the reaction to that, and I understand Indiana fans wanting their team to be spotlighted like that, but more so in the media, I thought was kind of disingenuous. They were standing up for a rule that they didn't necessarily. They had no reason to stand up for it. It was an arbitrary rule that was invented on the spot, and so it was usurped on the spot for perfectly legitimate reasons. That it was hard to defend IU being in the championship game when they'd lost to the undefeated team that was adjacent to them, and so it made sense for the conference to do what they did. And I think in retrospect that they look even more legitimate for having done so.
My only argument to that, Mike, and then you're right. They're the best team in the Big Ten. No one's going to argue that. But I think that Ohio State, had they stuck to the rules, would have been better served playing Iowa because I personally think Iowa's the best team in the West. But I think it would have been a better game. They would have gotten better value. People would have gotten a better look. I think they would have been better served if they think they need to bolster their resume any. But that's one of the arguments there, and just sticking to the.
I understand. You're right, Jim.
And it wouldn't have hurt Ohio State.
But from a conference standpoint, they would have had a conference championship game, at least initially on paper, that wasn't legitimate. They wouldn't have had the 2 best teams in the conference playing, the two teams that were on top of the standings in the conference. It wouldn't have been a true championship. And what's the point of staging a conference championship game if you're not going to have the 2 teams that are on top of the standings in it? So I think that the Big Ten took more heat there because in some cases it's an opportunity to give them heat, and I think you criticize what you need to criticize, what ought to be criticized, not just things that you're able to criticize, and that's sometimes where I get on the opposite side with my colleagues in the media.
Well, and I think a lot of times it's how, Kevin, we talked about this. It's how they have done this. It's how Kevin Warren has not been open. It's how he's handled this situation has not helped in any of it.
Well, but I mean, if you know Jim Delaney, I mean, Jim was certainly he was certainly a very adept and astute commissioner, but it's not like we heard from him every 3 weeks on issues. I mean, he was responsive when there was something important to talk about, but it's not like he was out there front and center every day, and you don't see that much you don't see Roger Goodell out there very much. Those people in those jobs only speak when it's really essential. It's not the sort of job where you're giving press conferences every day. So, I don't think that. I mean, Kevin got more heat on this one, and I'm not again entirely sure that this was his call, though. Although if it was, I think it was the right one.
Well, it's brought to a vote. I just think it's interesting because if the roles were reversed, I wonder how the decision would have been made. Because
Yeah.
that's
Kevin, do you really think that if Indiana were sitting there at undefeated, I guess what 6-0, the Buckeyes are
5-0, 5-0.
5-0. Okay, so if they were 5-0 and the Buckeyes were adjacent to them but had been beaten by the Hoosiers, do you really think they would have not done that?
I don't. I honestly do not.
I 100% believe that they would have put Indiana in the championship game because there would have been no upside to putting Ohio State in that game. It would have been an illegitimate championship at that point, and it's exactly what they didn't want.
I think
tend
it
to
comes down to
agree.
TV dollars.
I tend to agree with Mike there. I think they probably would have. I just think I think what would have been interesting was say Indiana was 5-0, Ohio State was 6-1, and there wasn't a head-to-head matchup. I think that would have been interesting.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. That would have been a fascinating discussion to have.
Yeah.
Now we look toward the bowl games, Mike. Last week, the college football rankings came out, and there was a lot of scuttlebutt about that. Indiana goes on the road, beats a ranked Wisconsin team, their third AP Top 25 win of the year, and they get basically no recognition for that. They don't move. This week, they got a little help. Miami lost. Some losses from BYU. So they've got some help in front of them. Florida, again, goes down. They're probably going to end up in a New Year's Six bowl. It's going to be hard to keep them out now with that they're not going to play again until bowl game.
Yeah, I sure hope so. If you want to talk about favoritism and cronyism and all that stuff in regard to the College Football Playoff Committee, have at it, because that's all it is. I mean, it is all about the brands and the power of a program's history and their television appeal and all of that. It's what college football's postseason has always been about. Do they draw a television audience? Do they, quote, travel well? Oh, and is their football team any good? That was like the distant third in regards to how the Bulls pick their teams. This at least they put it out there in front of you, so you can argue with how they do it, as opposed to all the backroom stuff that happened with the old bowl system. They can put the ranking out there, and at least you can argue with it. Whereas before, it was all about phone calls and can we, Iowa, they traveled well, so they wanted Iowa in their bowl game. But some of the city colleges, the Pitt and Cincinnati and programs like that didn't have those kinds of fan bases, didn't travel well, so nobody wanted them. It was all nonsense. This is a bit more sophisticated form of nonsense, the way they do it. When they moved Iowa State ahead of Cincinnati, which, they were the ones who put Cincinnati in the 7th spot, which probably was too low, but they did it. And then Cincinnati didn't do anything to take it away. And then they put Iowa State ahead of them last week with 2 losses, one of them decisively to a team, Louisiana, that Cincinnati certainly would be favored to beat. So, I have zero respect for the College Football Playoff Committee and how they do it. So if you want to rip on them, man, and I hope they don't give you a reason to. I hope the Hoosiers get what they deserve, which is a challenging matchup in an attractive bowl. They've certainly earned it. But that's a group that I don't have any respect for how they work.
Why the fascination with the Big 12? It seems very strange because they've played more games.
They have people on the committee.
When you look at Iowa State and Oklahoma and their resumes, I don't see it versus, listen, in the Big 12, Big 10, I think the Big 10 is being hurt here by Michigan and Penn State having down seasons, obviously, because when Indiana played them, they were ranked teams. Now they're kind of struggling. But some of these Big 12 are mind-boggling. And again, it goes back to, I guess, Greg Sankey. I saw him over the weekend mention how playing games is a metric in the college football playoff. But why are we rewarding or why are we punishing schools for erring on the side of caution? That's what I want to know.
Well, that's kind of what we expect now from the people in the College Football Playoff Committee. They do whatever they can do to advantage their own interests or their own desires. And again, their primary desire in this particular season, since there is no traveling well at this point, traveling well means you get to the grocery store and back without catching the virus. So that's traveling well these days. So now I would say that television appeal will be even more important to the committee people. And, Indiana has a great brand, but it's a great brand in basketball. And they have not traditionally been a football power. And so people see Indiana on a television schedule, and it doesn't really light them up in terms of football. They're not accustomed to that being a significant football program. If you've watched them play, as we all have, and as I'm sure most of the audience has, and I said this after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it was. I told you guys, that's a significant football team. That's a very good football team. And of course they're not the same team as they were at the time I said that, but they're still a terrific team, and they're going to play. Whoever they play is going to know they have been in a game when they get to January.
No doubt. Mike, what do you have coming up next that the people need to be reading? Because you've always got some great stuff coming out.
I'm working on a couple of different pieces that'll probably appear next week. So I'll let you know about them then, because I don't want to give away any of my ideas for anybody out there who might be listening. But
Kevin said he needs a new idea, so yeah, you better keep quiet.
No, Kevin, I'm not. No, Kevin would never take. He's a good guy. He would never do that. But you never know who's out there listening.
Man, I appreciate you, Mike, so much. I hope you have a great time this week, and we'll see how the college football rankings come out tonight. We'll get to talk about that next week because there's no significant games this weekend. There are some championship games this weekend, though, so there will be changes after this weekend. It'll be very interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this Saturday. I think it's going to be a fun Saturday in terms of college football. You've got the Big Ten championship game is still interesting. You've got the Notre Dame Clemson game. I mean, what happens if Notre Dame sweeps? What do the college football playoff people do then if they're stuck with a Clemson team with 2 losses? To me, that's the number one question of this weekend is, can Notre Dame pull off the sweep? Most people are supposing it. They won't. But if they do, what does that do to Clemson? I think that'll be a fascinating question.
Texas A&M, I think, would jump them if that was the case. I think that they would have 2 SEC teams in there.
I agree. Mike, thank you so much, man. We appreciate you immensely. I hope you have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, sir. The great Michael DeCourcy joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. Make sure you give him a follow everywhere, but he's on the Sporting News, Big Ten, Fox studio analyst. Greatly appreciate him coming on to join us. We got more coming up. Chronic Hoosier will be with us. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more right after this. Perfect.
But I'm not covering the Hoosiers. You can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
You realize we're 40 minutes into the show and we have not talked one iota of basketball.
33 has hand-tossed cold burgers and ice cold beer.
Oh, that's been going on for a while.
Craft brewers.
I mean, I pointed out a couple of times.
The family died.
That did not go to the forefront. It just kind of hovered underneath a bunch of football news. And I'm like, woohoo, man. Well, the next bit of basketball news coming out is going to be Amanu Muhammad going to Tom Crean in Georgia, not Indiana.
Yeah.
How's that going to sit with?
But there's just no buzz right now for this non-conference basketball schedule.
What non-conference basketball schedule?
Well, I mean, it's almost over, but I mean, you got Butler in the Crossroads this weekend.
Will they even play Butler? Will that game even happen? Are you going up?
I don't know. Did you get the credential list?
I didn't get the list. I requested, but
yeah, were you approved? I don't know. I put in to be
approval list yet?
What?
Have they sent out the approved list yet?
Not that I've seen, no.
Okay, well, I haven't seen it yet either, so I wouldn't know.
But you don't think Butler's going to play? Or they?
I don't know. I mean, Archie said as of right now it's on, but man, everybody that asks me anything about something, I tell them, I said, when is that? Is it further a week from now? I said, then don't ask me about it because I have no freaking idea.
Has Butler not played at all this year?
Oh, I think they've played.
Yeah. I mean, do they have a COVID risk? Is that what you're saying when you're saying that if they're going to play or not?
I think it was them. Let's see. Yeah, they played Western Michigan. They played Villanova. No, they're supposed to play Villanova tomorrow.
Yeah.
Was that game canceled already?
I didn't see anything. You're the one that brought this up, so I haven't seen any news about Butler's. Although I've heard Archie allude to them not playing very much. So
Hey guys, I got Chronicle.
That's the game's at 11:30 a.m.
yeah, it's a morning game.
Chronic, what's up, brother?
What's happening?
You know it, man.
Monday and Thursday.
I had a feeling
Leroy
that
Tavern
announcement was
also
coming
features
this
a
morning.
$6 daily lunch special from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, featuring a sandwich,
You'll have to
fries,
stop by
bacon,
Yogi's on a Sunday.
non-alcoholic drink for just $6. Be
Man,
part of the
Sunday
karaoke
sucked
fun
for
every
me.
Friday and
I
Saturday
swear,
night.
it's my favorite
Leroy's
day of the week,
Tavern,
and
a
it's the
West
one where I
Side
literally
tradition
have
for
the least
50
amount of
years
time
at 2659
of
West
pretty
Main.
much
Today's guest is brought to you by
Life in the
Reynolds
auto
Family
biz.
Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
So I got me an office, gold records on the wall. Just leave a message.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat, here on this Tuesday. Kevin Brockway sitting in with me, Jim Coyle here, and now joined by the great Chronic Hoosier. Chronic, how you doing, man?
Oh, it's a sad day in B-Town, man. Over a century of playing against one another. Never canceled an IU-Purdue football game. We had to go and do it twice this year, man. What's up with that?
Yeah, twice. I didn't even think about that. It was so bad they had to do it twice. Exactly. It does suck. It really does. But it gives Indiana a chance to kind of regroup, get themselves together, focus towards the bowl game, which should be a spectacular bowl game. As a matter of fact, and I haven't really thought about this, Kevin, but Indiana's looking at potentially playing in the second most prestigious bowl game they've ever played in the football in program history.
If it's the Fiesta, that would be something. If it's a New Year's Six, which is looking possible, looking likely.
But yeah, I mean, you're looking at the Hoosiers going to the desert, Chronic.
Yeah, it's I'm still at the point right now where after the way the Big Ten did Indiana, I'm going to believe it when I see it. Gary Bart and the shenanigans at the college football playoff committee. I just consider me a lifetime bit and forever shy at this point. That they're going to do the right thing and actually give Indiana the respect that they are due, that they've earned this season. I just tweeted it out. They're going to finish now through no fault of their own, mind you, as far as what the schedule put in front of them. But right now they've got the best record in the Big Ten. They're undefeated at home. They have the best road record in the Big Ten. As much as a lot of the national pundits and even some in our own backyard want to dismiss it, they earned the right. They earned the shot to play in that bowl game, and whether it be the Fiesta or any of the other New Year's Six. I think you're going to be hard pressed to make an argument, considering what else there is on the plate right now. Who else could fill those spots? That Indiana is not, in fact, deserving of a seat at that table this year.
I think worst case scenario is they end up in the Citrus Bowl. What's personally, selfishly, I wish that they would actually play in because it's a hell of a lot closer. The payout is the same. It's just not as prestigious as in name. But other than that, it's all same. And I think it would be better recruiting because they can go down and use that Florida pipeline and kind of use that. But the Fiesta Bowl, obviously, a much more prestigious in name. But are Hoosier fans going to be more likely to travel out to Phoenix as they would to Florida?
Yeah, that'll be real interesting too, just to see, when the day comes, what's that landscape even look like? Are they going to allow fans? If so, what capacity? What limitations on them? What will be the pecking order by which tickets are divvied out in the event they are available at that time? So fascinating to see how it all plays out. But just as fascinating, consider where we are right now. Just 13, 14 months removed, where it was almost a fantasy that Indiana would have been playing in the Gator Bowl last season, and now here we are bitching and moaning, about the possibility of getting snubbed for the Fiesta and having to settle for the Citrus. I mean, man, what a time to be alive right now if you're an Indiana football fan.
Just a point of note that the Fiesta, no fans for the Fiesta Bowl, Jim. So
really?
there definitely will not be fans for that one. But I couldn't agree more with Chronic in the beginning of the year. If you were going to say a choice between the Fiesta and the Citrus, I would think that you'd be pleasantly surprised.
Well, wait till next year when all Indiana has many of these guys back, most of them back, and you've got Ohio State coming to Indiana to play in a college game day scenario. Next year, you could be talking legitimately about the college football playoffs for them to seriously make it.
We've dreamed about it for years. We've talked about it for forever. This is real. This is happening. This is what you get when you invest in your coaching, and you put an emphasis on development, and you change the culture of the program. And I'm going to count myself among those that said it was probably going to be next to impossible to do here at Indiana. My goal was always try to be in the upper half of the conference. If you can be there consistently, you've done a good job at Indiana. Well, if that's the metrics by now, I don't know how you don't make Tom Allen Coach of the Year this year. He just got Region 3 awards earlier this morning. But it's the reality of the situation. This thing looks durable. It looks sustainable. And it looks like it's going to continue for some time in the future. I know it's a tough blow for the defense to lose Kane Womack to South Alabama, but at the end of the day, that was a shared vision between him and Tom Allen. I have full confidence that we're going to see a continuation of those philosophies that enabled just the tremendous success on the defensive side of the ball. With the possibility of Michael Penix bouncing back from his second ACL next season, there's going to be a fire in his belly. But I'm really curious to see how Jack Tuttle's able to finish this season out as well, because the poise he's shown in the limited snaps he's got so far, it's going to be a really, really tough competition next season. It's going to be a really competitive, really capable quarterback room. And as you mentioned, they are bringing back a boatload of talent on both ends of the ball. It doesn't give me any reason to think this is just going to be a flash in the pan here, and things are going to return to their old order in any time soon.
I think you're going to need Jack Tuttle going into that second season, though, because I don't know if that second ACL, rehabilitation is going to have him ready by September. I'd be surprised. Let's put it that way.
Plus, that's going to be a heck of a quarterback room. You got Donovan McCulley coming in there too, man. That's going to be a loaded room, and it's going to be the talent level just continues to rise. I agree with Chronic completely there. But now we look at basketball. We do have a game scheduled for this Saturday, Chronic, with Butler, the Crossroads. Hopefully that happens. Butler's scheduled to take on Villanova tomorrow at 7:00. So hopefully that happens. Indiana could use that game before they get into Big Ten play, because they have not had nearly as many, and probably not nearly as much as they need to get into conference play.
No question about it. This is one of those situations where I'll believe it when I see him tip the ball up. Because with the prevalence of COVID in college basketball right now, there's just I haven't seen the most recent statistics, but just an absurd amount of games getting canceled, postponed. And credit to the administrators that have put the rules in place, because with the daily testing that the Big Ten athletes are going through, visiting teams have to test the day they get on campus. They have to test the day of the game, and everybody's got to be clean in order for it to go off. It's just such an unpredictable situation right now. Fortunately, the Hoosiers have been unaffected by it thus far inside their own locker room since the season commenced, knock on wood there. But it's one of those where it's extremely fluid. And it was already a really, really thin non-conference season to begin with. And, it's kind of funny, the shoes on the other foot this year. For years we've bemoaned the cupcakes on the schedule and how it was just a lot of fluff, with few real meaningful non-conference games peppered in. But you find yourself now, we're like, just give me any games. The North Alabama game this last Sunday, where traditionally everybody would just dismiss it. I still saw some of those sentiments as it was being played. Those games still have a lot of value for a team like Archie's got right now. Just to give him the ability to experiment with some roster combinations, to put some guys in some unfamiliar positions, to give some of the younger guys some run. I mean, I think you saw that in the second half Sunday against North Alabama, in a game that was kind of sloppy. you found a team that was able to find some confidence in their stroke. I can't overstate the importance of just seeing the ball go through the basket and what that means for guys like Armand, for Jerome, Trey Galloway, Anthony Leal, for that matter. Guys who haven't had a lot of chances to see some success so far, largely because it's been a pretty tight non-conference schedule. I mean, you look at the Maui Invitational, Florida State in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, and then, potentially Butler here in the Crossroad Classics, if they can pull it off. Those are a lot of high-stakes games that have a lot of consequences for Selection Sunday. And I think what we've seen was Archie was really, really tight with the bench, keeping a really, really small rotation. But, the flip side of that is you don't get the opportunity to experiment. You don't get the opportunity to get some guys some run. And I think that's going to be critical going into the Big Ten here, because we go through this weekend and boom, it's on us. And it's real, and it's going to be an absolute gauntlet from start to finish. So, hopefully he's able to get something this week against Butler. And if not, man, I don't know where you turn, but you put it out at APB, get some people in the gym and get some teams. Thank you.
Yeah, Captain, whether they play this game or not, the Big Ten play starts 4 days later at home against Northwestern, but it's Big Ten play is here, whether this game happens or not.
It will be interesting to see, do you sprinkle in a non-conference game when the conference game starts? You rarely see that in college basketball where you throw in a non-conference game, but you could see that happen if this Butler game is canceled. Maybe you find a spot later in the schedule where you try to get that 27th game, because it could help you in terms of seeding purposes or getting into the NCAA tournament.
And chronic being that it's Butler, if that game were to be canceled, it would probably be a lot easier to reschedule with Butler at a later date, since they're close by.
Absolutely. I mean, all you got to do is just load up the bus, pick a gym, roll the ball out, and let's go. And you know what? Even if the game, for any reason it cannot happen this weekend, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe you don't make some calls around the state and see if anybody else is willing to come down and do just the same. I mean, that's the one benefit to this. In a sport as fluid as college basketball, it doesn't take a whole lot to put a game together, at least put one on the record book. So there's plenty of teams around, I'm sure, would love a chance to come to Assembly Hall, but I'm still holding out hope that they can make the Crossroads happen, because that's been one that it's been hotly debated whether or not Indiana should stay, whether we should look for other opportunities in non-conference. I think that's kind of the sweet spot. That particular opponent, this particular matchup in this particular year right now.
Man, you almost let me forget again. I would have been upset. Last time we talked off air about the Hoosier Hills Food Bank. They did not normally. Their biggest generator of funds and everything is the Hoosier Hills Midnight Madness for Indiana. It didn't happen this year, and so Chronic, I know you said you're working on some things, so I'd rather just take it away, man.
Well, I've this is the 1 year. It's been wild. I had the card done in record time this year. I had my shopping done before Black Friday. All these things that have never ever happened in my lifetime, they all came together here in 2020. What's been kind of stumping me right now, and I think I've got the solution figured out. I'm going to spend some time tomorrow morning putting it happen, trying to figure out a way in which we can gather some donations, spread some holiday cheer. I had some folks reach out about how they could possibly get one of the Chronic Christmas cards. And I think this year, I'll have more details tomorrow, but it looks like for a small donation to the Hoosier Hills Food Bank, I'm going to be happy to send several hundred of those out this year and just try to raise some money for them. As we've said before, there's a lot of people in our community that are struggling mightily through COVID and just what it's done to our local economy. It's so incredibly hospitality driven. A sector that's just been hit tremendously hard here. There's a lot of folks that are soon to find themselves without a place as the eviction moratoriums are going to be lifted. And it's just going to be real tough times for a lot of Hoosiers around us. And Hoosier Hills Food Bank is one organization that's been there for decades, doing everything in their power, gathering the strength of our community and its generosity, and making sure that people are fed through challenging times. And right now they have a unprecedented demand for their services. So stay tuned tomorrow morning. I should have some more info about ways in which we can all help, ways in which we can take care of our neighbors, and ways in which you can maybe get yourself one of those holiday cards. I'm pretty excited about this year, which, by the way, they're hitting the mail for those who are already on the existing list.
Yes. That's something, if people probably don't know, just listening, that's something that if you're on that list, you look forward to each and every year receiving the Chronic Hoosier Christmas card, because they are a work of art, let's just say. They are creative genius pieces, and I look forward to finding out what is going to be this year. Tijon is always the centerpiece, the favorite.
Tijon and the Liger always got to make an appearance, man. That goes back to my roots, but that's one of the things I have the most fun doing all year long. I'm kind of infamous for my terrible Photoshop, but I do love to mix some media in my messages, and the holiday card is just a way where we can kind of tie all that together. And again, just thank everybody for being a part of this thing, this community that Indiana fans share together. It's very special, and it's just something I love to do during a real special time of the year.
Well, you're welcome to come back tomorrow to tell us what it is. But either way, we're in for 250, man, to get that thing kicked off and get going. But it's a great thing that you're doing to try to help them out.
I appreciate all your help with it, Jim.
Anytime, man. Everything. What else is going on as we head towards this weekend?
I don't know, man. We're about ready to unleash the kids on the community here for a couple of weeks, unfettered. So it's been one of those where we are limping to the finish line with the e-learning and everybody at home right now. But you know what? This has been one of those situations where everybody I talk to is really struggling, trying to hold it together. And as difficult as it is, it's something that everybody's sharing in right now, because I don't think anybody has been unaffected by this. And it's important to remember too that there's a lot of folks around us that are being infected in far, far greater ways with sickness and even some death right now. So it's a good time to be thankful for what we have. It's a good time to remember that there are others that could use a hand, and that's one thing Hoosiers always do, man. And I appreciate everybody who kind of comes together and rallies around the sport, but also use it as a chance to celebrate kind of the greater thing that we all share here in our corner of Indiana.
Absolutely. Chronic, appreciate you as always, brother. Go out and have a great one.
Looking forward to it, man. You guys take care. We'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. Chronic Hoosier joining us here on Tuesdays, as he does, Kevin. But yeah, we're heading towards. It's going to be a kind of a weird weekend. If Indiana gets to play basketball, that'll soften that. But if that game were to get canceled, we'd have the Bucket game get canceled and Crossroads the same weekend, which that would suck, because that's a pretty big deal in Indiana sports right there. I mean, you're talking, you've got all four teams, the four biggest teams in the biggest sports playing all at that same time, and all that could get canceled.
I don't know about you, but this is from a sports writer's perspective, though, it is a nice little respite, because we were going like 500 miles an hour from the end of October through the beginning of basketball season and football. And, that first week with the, covering the Maui Invitational and, preparing for the Wisconsin game at the same time. I mean, it was really a lot of backbreaking work, but it's not good for the fans. I agree with you in terms of, they look forward to seeing as many games as they can. But listen, the Big Ten will be starting on December 23rd against Northwestern. It's not like it'll be that long of a layoff. And, maybe for Archie and the team, you get in a little extra practice time before the games that matter. And like I said, it'll be interesting to see. You can always reschedule that game, and that would be an easy game to reschedule at some point down the road in maybe January or February when Butler gets healthy.
Yeah, here's the thing, though, man. As difficult as it's been, and they did a hell of a job getting through this in football, basketball's going to be tougher. Lots more traveling, more travel. You're going to be coming in contact with more different places, and man. But the good news is the vaccine I don't think the vaccine is going to affect these players until the season's over, unfortunately, by the time it gets to them. I would be happy personally to let them have it in front of me just so I could continue to watch sports. But I will be, speaking of that vaccine, I was talking to my dad yesterday. He's like, oh, hell, I'm not getting that thing, blah, blah. I'm like, you're an idiot. You've got nothing to lose on this. You've got only everything to lose by not getting it. But it's just funny, people's perceptions on that. I will be the first in line, I promise you. I will take it twice. And if you don't want yours, I'll take it.
Health workers.
I have no problem.
Yeah, health workers, frontline people, you give it to them first. You got elderly, 80s, 90s. I think my stepfather might be getting it in January. Apparently, he's on the list, and he just turned 80. So it's that deserves priority over athletes. I mean, come on, let's.
No, I'm not saying it. Yes, I'm not suggesting that. I just said yes. I've just said personally, I would not have a problem with them getting it in front of me just so I can continue to watch sports. I need it. I want it. But yeah, no. That Calipari did that. He had to backtrack that. We talked about that yesterday. He started running his trap saying, "Oh, well, we've got a hospital here. We can just run our players over there. They'll get moved up in front of the line." Well, because he's used to that treatment for his players, but that's not the case, and he had to backtrack on that. Hey, we got a lot more coming up. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. Kevin Brockway from CNHI is sitting in. We've just finished up with Chronic Hoosier and Mike DeCourcy. More coming up. We'll be back from the golf club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. Covering the Hoosiers. You can find me at Bob.
Calipari.
What were we just talking about?
We were talking about the vaccine.
Oh, yeah.
And college basketball and how they're going to get through this.
That's a great question. Would you let athletes go in front of you to continue to watch sports? That's a good question. I would.
Yeah, I mean, the general public under 60 or 70, yeah, but
I'm not talking about the old people who are going to die, dude. I'm talking about normal people.
Yeah. Normal, healthy people.
Yes.
You give it to the immune compromised first. You give it to, When was the last time you got a flu shot?
Just around the corner. Make sure. I was going to get it this year, and I went twice. I went the first time. It's like, do you have an appointment? And I'm like, no, I don't have a damn appointment. I was at the freaking Kroger pharmacy. What the hell? I need an appointment at the Kroger pharmacy for? And so I didn't. I'm like,
you didn't do it. Yeah.
Nope. It would have taken him 2 seconds to go. Psst. Nope.
I thought about doing it. I didn't do it. Somebody said that if you get the flu virus, you're more susceptible to COVID or something.
Man, nobody knows nothing. That's one thing I do know. No one knows nothing.
Yeah.
Proper English there, but yeah, craziness. But I promise you, I will get that damn COVID vaccine. I'll get it twice if they give it to me. I do not want COVID, man. I don't want it.
It'll probably be available to us in the spring, I guess. I think that's.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, they're already. It's rolling out. The girl I'm dating, she could have had it yesterday, but she couldn't work it out schedule wise. I'm like, you could have already been vaccinated. Wow, it's only been out for like 2 days.
Monday, Thursday. Leroy's Tavern also features a $6 daily lunch special from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, featuring a sandwich, fries, or onion rings.
Oh, another thing we haven't talked about.
Non-alcoholic drink for
who's going to be his replacement, and who's he going to take with him?
Leroy's Tavern.
Who's going to be his replacement? Oh, Kane Womack. Yeah. DC.
I guarantee he hires from within.
Brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Who do you think he would take? Do you think he'd take T. Garden to be his defensive coordinator?
That's kind of what but I don't know his experience.
Oh, I love this song, Weezer.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you here on this Tuesday from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Kevin Brockway sitting in, as always, from CNHI.
That's some good rejoin music there, Will. That I a little Weezer, classic late 90s. Yeah.
He mixes it up. I should have had him throw some Charlie Pride in. Charlie Pride died of COVID the other day, unfortunately. But was in between segments, we're sitting there talking. I asked Kevin, who do you think will replace Kane Womack at DC? I definitely think Tom Allen's going to hire from within. That is what he does. He likes having those guys that he has a familiarity, a relationship with, that he has trust in. But he's going to have to bring some guys in from outside because Kane Womack will also be taking some people with him. I asked him that question yesterday, and he basically acknowledged, yeah, but we don't know who. But I would somebody, because he's going to need a DC and an OC. I don't know that he's going to take somebody to fill both those spots, but I would bet a lot that one of those positions is going to be filled at least.
Well, Kalen DeBoer took William Inge last year, the special teams coach. So there is precedent for that, I think. And I think within Tom Allen's staff, you look at a guy like Jason Jones, who had a little bit of co-defensive coordinator experience at Ole Miss. He's a guy who could be elevated. Maybe Kevin Peoples. Maybe they make a run at the guy at Michigan State again, Ron Burton, who kind of spurred them the last time. We'll see. We'll see he's a pretty good recruiter for one thing, and he's got Indiana ties. So, that's a possibility. Or if you elevate Kevin Peoples, maybe you fill him in the staff or something. So, that's a possibility. There's a lot of possibilities there, but Jason Jones will be an interesting guy to look at because he's a guy that has had at least co-defensive coordinator experience in the past in the SEC and Mississippi, and he's done a pretty good job with the safeties in terms of you look at what Jamar Johnson has done this year and Devon Matthews. They've certainly elevated their level of play.
The Big Ten awards, lots of awards, year-end awards, Big Ten awards, Coach of the Year. We saw already Tom Allen getting a Coach of the Year award today. What was that, Region 3 or something? Really don't understand what that one was, but I haven't read into it because it came out while we were doing the show. But named AFCA, American Football Coaches Association, Region 3 Coach of the Year. So they've started. I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. I don't see any possibility of him not being Big Ten Coach of the Year. Do you?
Yeah, I don't. The only argument that could be made would be Greg Schiano, a team that's lost 21 in a row. They won 3 road games in the Big Ten. I mean, he inherited a terrible situation. But I think what Tom Allen has done is on a much grander scale in terms of leading this team to a 6-1 record and really getting this team to believe that they can win any game that they played. I mean, this is, an Indiana football program that's never really had that belief. I think Tom will be a shoo-in for Big Ten Coach of the Year. And then you look at offensive and defensive players of the year. You would think that, Michael Penix and Ty Freifogel would be candidates for offensive player of the year, although I think that will probably go to Justin Fields still. And then defensive player of the year, you've got Micah McFadden and Tywan Mullen as 2 guys that are going to be right in the mix.
Absolutely. Michael Penix, probably going to hurt him that he didn't finish the season, although he still played more games than Justin Fields. Did he not?
He did, but if you look at the numbers right now, and then, obviously it'll be for the regular season. I don't think
they had a really slow start.
Count Saturday's game into play. You're still talking about 15 to 18 touchdown passes. And by the way, Fields has more rushing touchdowns too and more rushing yards. So as a dual threat, Fields' numbers still trumps Penix's numbers. So I think that will factor into it. And the fact that, he led an offense at Ohio State. Yeah. And, 46 points a game for the offense. I mean, and he's the linchpin of that offense. But Ty Freifogel, I mean, you take a look at Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave at Ohio State, too. They're very good players. Take a look at the kid from Minnesota, Muhammad Ibrahim, 925 yards rushing. He's another guy that could be in the mix for Offensive Player of the Year as well. He's had a great year up there in Minnesota.
Absolutely. And so we've talked about where the Hoosiers may end up next, to how that'll impact them. What does going to the Fiesta Bowl do for this program? Like I said, that would be the second most prestigious bowl in program history, minus the 1967 Rose Bowl.
Yeah, New Year's Six Bowl. I mean, I think it's good for national visibility. You go there, you play. Also, I think, if you play a team from the Pac-12 like USC, let's not forget, Indiana hasn't won a bowl game since 1991. Probably should have won last year if not for the onside kick. We can get into that. But I think if you play a team like USC, a Pac-12 team, much more winnable game than say if you go to the Citrus and you play an SEC program. Let's say if you play Auburn, let's say if you play Florida, if they slip down, that would be a much harder game, I think. Not to say that they can't beat an SEC team this year, because I think they can, and they almost did last year. But I think if you're playing a Pac-12 team out in the Fiesta Bowl, your chances of winning that game go up dramatically.
Absolutely, and that's the one thing now. Indiana, they have a lot of first this year, a lot of the rankings and this and that, and get the bowl game. They didn't win the bowl game, and now so winning that bowl game is the next hurdle for Indiana. Unfortunately, as you continue to go up in bowl stature, so does your opponent. And ironically, in that 1967 Rose Bowl, they played the USC Trojans. That is the team they probably, if they end up in the Fiesta Bowl, probably will end up playing, since they're going to be the Pac-12 champion, it looks like.
I'll tell you what, though, there's no O.J. Simpson on this USC program. He scored both rushing touchdowns back in the day in 1968. So
he killed it.
Like I said, I think we can get in that. It's a lot easier I think it'll still be a lot easier of a matchup. And how about this, Jim? If you look back in the record book, the last time Indiana won a bowl game in 1991, it was the Copper Bowl in Arizona. So there's some precedent there. Maybe it's a good karma too, going back to beautiful Arizona. That was in Tucson, Arizona, I guess at the University of Arizona's campus, where they beat Baylor 24-0 back in the Bill Mallory days.
Yeah, I just have never seen a team more snake bit than the Indiana program. But this year has done so many different things. But I think one of the biggest things that it has done is to kind of erase that whatever fog that it was that kind of kept Indiana making those same last game mistakes or whatever, that just let games slip away. That seems to have kind of melted away.
It started with the 2-point conversion, I think. I think you get that 2-point conversion against Penn State, and it completely does a 180 in terms of confidence, and you just build it from there. And I think that's what happened to Indiana this year. They finally had a tight game that they found a way to win. Penn State rushes in for a touchdown when it could have ended that game. There were a lot of things it was almost like a makeup for what happened at the end of the Gator Bowl the year before, when so many things went wrong and they had a 90% probability of winning the Gator Bowl with 4 minutes to go, up 2 scores. This time you have a 1% possibility of winning that Penn State game, but
Tom Allen has the card of that, and I wonder if he's got one of that the Tennessee game next to it.
Exactly. But that's like, those 2 games, and diametrically, that showed that you could get over the hump. You could beat a quality team. You could beat a big-time opponent. And then from there, I think that just kind of gave the confidence and the belief that every game they could play. And there's been a lot of close games. I mean, don't forget that Wisconsin game went down to the wire, too, having to make a defensive stand-up 14-6 in a 1-score game, 1 score to 2-point conversion. So they found a way now to win those kind of games that they were losing in years past.
Something we haven't talked about, a little basketball recruiting, because there's not a lot to talk about, but Aminu Muhammad, his commitment date coming soon, December 21st. All that I'm hearing, though, not sounding good for Indiana yet again.
Tom Crean, Georgia, could be going to the SEC, a 5-star guy, and it's going to be really interesting to see what Archie does and where he goes from here, in losing out in him and Trey Kaufman and some Mason Miller and some other guys. Do you dip into the transfer portal? That's some of the things that I've been hearing. Do you go after
Do you have a choice?
Ready-made? Do you go after some ready-made guys? I would think
I don't think you have a choice.
I would think that would be the avenue that you'd probably have to go. There was talk of a kid from who was the one whose father died, who was a coach at Tennessee Martin, that guard. I saw some talk about him possibly coming in as well. But we'll see how that all unfolds.
that would definitely put a little more pressure on Archie to have a more of a successful season. I mean, and by successful, I mean you finish in the top 6 of the Big Ten this year. It's probably a successful season, I'd say.
Well, and what's going to be interesting is Trace Jackson-Davis. Look, he's continuing to play at a high level. I still think the big problem on this team is that you need a second guy to emerge, whether that's Armand Franklin, whether it's Al Durham, whether that's someone. You need, as say, Race Thompson. You need that second offensive option because, I mean, teams in the Big Ten are going to do everything to take him away and take him out of his game. What happens when Trace Jackson-Davis leaves next year? Because the season he's having right now, I can't see him sticking around. And, you're going to bring in Locum Duncombe. Okay, you'll have Race Thompson, probably back. We'll see what happens with Joey Brunk right now with his injury issue if he decides to come back for another year, which he could do. But even if you bring back the bodies, you don't have that dynamic front court guy unless Race Thompson develops into that. And, you become more of a perimeter team, but is that, really what you want? I mean, Christian Lander, I know was kind of, North Alabama's, not the second coming of John Wooden's UCLA Bruins, but I think it was good for some of the freshmen. Trey Galloway we see is a guy that's really promising as a freshman as well. I mean, Lander at 10 points. Anthony Leal, made his first three-pointer. And showed some things, and Archie said he's a dependable guy. So, the freshmen are going to have to develop, I think, and grow up really quickly next year, particularly if, Trace Jackson-Davis leaves, which I think at this point, given the season he's having, is probably a certainty.
I don't agree with you. The unfortunate thing is, while these guards are getting better, I think Christian Lander is going to get better. Armand Franklin has stepped up. Trey Galloway has shown that he's going to be a player. Anthony Leal got his first 3 the other night. Geronimo is just a little raw. But the thing is, Trace Jackson-Davis plays in the middle. They've got nobody that they're developing to replace him. And you can't run a 4-guard offense. So I don't think there's any choice but to bring in a ready-made grad transfer to play, or this is going to be the perpetual thing that you're looking at here. This it's like a perpetual rebuild. It's like it never gets out of second gear.
Yeah, you need a little more talent up there in the front court if Trace Jackson-Davis leaves, and we'll see. We'll see how they approach it. I think the Big Ten next year, what might help Archie next year is the fact that maybe the Big Ten, which has been a behemoth the last 2 years, you see Luka Garza, Coburn, and Dosunmu will probably go next year. Maybe the Big Ten gets a little softer. And that could help Indiana as well. But you've got to keep up with it for sure, and you've got to keep developing and bringing in guys. And that's the thing, you look at what Tom Allen is doing in football, a lot of it's about the development, because he's, these are 3-star guys for the most part that Tom Allen is bringing here. But he's getting them better, man. That football, and you've got to see that on the basketball side too. You got to see guys continue to make significant progress. And Armand
Franklin's the first guy that I think we can truly say has shown promise from year to year. And this is in year 4. We haven't seen that. So that's an issue. You can't bring guys in that are mid-level players and not have them improve drastically if you're not bringing in the elite. And that has been the issue from my viewpoint.
Yeah, and you take I think Race Thompson has developed a little bit. Rob Finney has not. I think that's been a big disappointment at the point guard position. He seems to be
Jerome Hunter
stagnant. Jerome Hunter is another guy who hasn't quite gotten it defensively yet. And don't forget that he's had some health issues as well. But he's in his 3rd year on campus, 2nd year really playing. So you'd like to see a jump from him. I think what's holding him back, obviously, is defense. I mean, he's got a nice shot, and he could serve that role off the bench. And I think he's also been a little miscast in terms of, being in a post rotation when he's kind of a slight-built 6'7" guy. He's more of a wing, and you're having to play him at the power forward spot because Joey Brunk is out. So But
We're going to take a quick break. Let's finish this up. When we come back, though, we're going to talk about the potential awards, Big Ten awards, national awards, who you think are going to win all that. But you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Hey, this is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you'll find complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience, or you can find it any place you podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
The 2021 golf season is just around the corner. Make sure to book your next outing or get your membership from the Golf Club at Eagle Point. Is that the old one, Will? Call 812.
Do what?
Is that the old commercial?
That was the one you emailed me like last week.
Yeah, it's the old one. I sent another one yesterday. Hopefully it sounds better. That sounds terrible.
Okay.
It sounds like the mic. It's the mic. It sounds like the microphone was not right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I sent one yesterday. Hopefully that's better. That's awful.
Center manager with Banterra. At our bank, you get the best of both worlds. Our easy-to-use mobile app includes conveniences like mobile check deposit. We offer competitive CD and money market rates, smart mortgage options, and unmatched business products and services. Switching to Banterra is easy. Stop by our locations to learn more. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The college and pro football seasons bring friends together, and Leroy's Tavern is a place to watch all the games every week with the NFL Sunday.
I want to go to Leroy's Tavern.
Every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Leroy's Tavern.
How do you not want to go to? How do you hear this commercial and not want to go to Leroy's Tavern?
Featuring a sandwich, fries, or onion rings.
You know, your grandma, your grandpa are back in the corner. They're smoking. They're doing the Friday tab. I got the whole vision going, man.
50 years at 2659 Mount Vernon Avenue.
Is that in like Jeffersonville or where is that?
No, that's Evansville.
Pizza, burgers, beer.
That's Clarksville. We're all over, multi-state.
Take the last train to Clarksville.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat here on this Tuesday, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Killing it with the music there. All right. Kevin Brockway sitting in as always from CNHI.
That was I Want You by the Beatles.
Oh, wow. I did not know that, but that would have cost me money. I didn't know that. I never would have got that one. Big Ten awards, year-end awards. I don't see it. We started talking about this a minute ago, but I don't see any possibility Tom Allen does not win Big Ten Coach of the Year. You mentioned Greg Schiano. Yeah, if it wasn't for Tom Allen, yeah, maybe. Who knows? But national side, we generally don't see National Coach of the Year go to coaches that have done this unbelievable job. What we see on that is the winner. It's almost like they just give it to the winner. I don't see. I think Tom Allen, I know he deserves National Coach of the Year because he's done the most with the least. He doesn't have 5 stars. He doesn't have what Ryan Day has. He doesn't have what Ryan Day walked into, or any of those, or Brian Kelly. Will they give him National Coach of the Year? Yeah, I doubt it. That's now you're getting back up to the college football committee type stuff. It's agenda stuff. I just don't think it's as genuine as things on the conference level.
Do they give it to Brian Kelly maybe because of Notre Dame and what they had to go through with COVID and the upset of Clemson? I wonder if that's going to be the guy that ends up getting it. That'll be interesting to see. That would be certainly a big name. But I mean, I think Tom Allen, listen, he'll probably be in the running for National Coach of the Year. You'd have to think what he's done and the publicity that he's garnered this season. I think those locker room videos that are shown and what has been said about him through ESPN and other, national platforms, I think certainly will make it interesting. And the fact that, this is on the national scale, Indiana remains this underdog story, this story that, is this basketball school that, has been in the wilderness and football for many decades, since the Bill Mallory era. And even in the Bill Mallory era, I don't think that they've reached these kind of heights that Tom Allen has achieved this season.
Yeah, it's no doubt to me he's deserving. And we'll see how it turns out. It's great recognition. I posted on Twitter last night a clip I was watching at the conclusion of the Baltimore-Cleveland game. They were interviewing Lamar Jackson like they were with Tom Allen a week or so ago. And as he's going through the interview, his guys are coming over. That's my quarterback. It's my guy. He's the guy. They're doing exactly what we saw in the Tom Allen clip. And there's no way you're going to tell me that those guys did not come from that Tom Allen clip, because I've not seen that happen this year prior to the Tom Allen thing. And now we see it happen almost verbatim last night on a national scale at an NFL game.
Oh yeah, no, it was interesting to see. And Lamar Jackson, who's his cousin, Tywan Mullen. So there's your Indiana tie-in, right? And you talk about national awards, and I remember when we first interviewed Tywan Mullen a year and a half ago, what was one of the things he said? He wanted to win the Thorpe Award, best defensive back in the country, and he could be in the running for that award this year very easily, or Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. So these kids, a lot of these kids have visions, and they're realizing their vision, and that, credit to their hard work and credit to their development and how the coaches are developing them as well into being, the kind of football players that they kind of dream and aspire to be.
Absolutely. And he came in with goals. He came in with – he's the guy that I remember when I met him and the first time I interviewed him that he said that quote, "I didn't come 16 hours for nothing." And he was serious, but he was serious. He came in, he sat down with Tom Allen with goals. He walked into Tom Allen's office with goals. He impressed Tom Allen. Let me tell you, you impress Tom Allen, you're impressive. We know he's impressive on the field. I don't think people realize how impressive of a dude Tywan Mullen is off the field. I call him Elvis because I think he reminds me of Elvis. He's cool, man. He knows what he's doing. He backs it up. It ain't bragging if you can do it. He's got the pork chop sideburns, or he did have them. I don't know if he still has those or not, but I mean, he's Elvis, man. He's cool, and he's going to be playing on Sundays.
He's caught in a trap he can't hold down. I agree. He's got this kind of cool confidence to him for sure, and I think he knows his ability and he knows what he can do with it. I think there was probably an adjustment his freshman year learning to play with his size against some of the bigger Big Ten receivers, but I think he's figured that out. And, a guy that for a guy who's 5'10", 180 pounds, the thing I like about Tywan Mullen is how physical he plays. And, coming in on those blitzes, knocking quarterbacks, forcing fumbles. He's I remember Michael Penix had this great quote earlier in the season where he said about Tywan, he goes, "He's a little guy, but he plays bigger than he is."
There ain't no doubt. I mean, this dude is going to play. He has a brother that's playing on Sundays already for the Raiders. His cousin's Lamar Jackson. We saw it. Speaking of Lamar Jackson, that's his cousin. Trust me, that talent runs in that family. And he's got a brother that's coming up that Indiana is recruiting very, very hard. And I would be hard-pressed to imagine that he does not end up in Indiana with the success that Tywan is having, the love that he has for Tom Allen in this school. I would be hard-pressed to think they don't get the younger Mullen.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Although I think those schools in Florida have kind of caught on watching Taiwan's success because they're recruiting them a lot harder than probably they did Taiwan. And Taiwan's got that chip on the shoulder, I think, because of that. Because of you were talking about Florida and Miami struggling, over the weekend, and you look at both defenses are struggling. And I can name 3 players on Indiana's roster right now that are better than any defensive player in either, who are from the state of Florida. Jamar Johnson, Micah McFadden, Tywan Mullen, all better than any player right now on the Florida or Miami defenses.
How shocking. And this is a guy that covered Florida for 15 years making that statement. But how shocking is it for you to be able to make that statement?
Well, I think what it says is, A, the development, the recruiting, the finding the under radar guys, which Tom Allen and the staff has done, and B, the lack of development that's going on at those 2 schools in terms of their defensive players. I think that's kind of the bigger issue from a perspective down there is like, why aren't some of the players down there, defensive players in Florida, Miami, getting better?
Man, it's been another great day. I cannot thank Kevin enough. Appreciate Kevin Brockway from CNHI. Make sure you give him a follow. Mike DeCourcy from Sporting News, Fox and Big Ten, and Chronic Hoosier as well. Looking forward to be back to doing it again tomorrow. Dustin Schutte, Cal Nedrip, and Matt Taylor from the Coach is going to join us. He couldn't be with us on Monday, so he'll join us tomorrow. So we'll look forward to doing that. But thanks to everybody for listening. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you go out and have yourselves a nice day. Do something nice for somebody. Wear your mask. And until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I'll see you on the radio. Hey, where's Kevin? When's your girl coming back in?
22nd.